Hi, this is May.
And I'm Joy.
Welcome to the QWERTY Writing Life Podcast, where we have candid chats about our creative lives.
May and I are friends, writers, and creatives who want to share our endeavors out loud.
On this podcast, we're here to encourage each other, and you too,
and share tools we've discovered or made up,
so you can follow your passions with a little support. So grab your tea
or your coffee,
and let's get started. Edit it.
There you go. All right.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
We are going to be talking about how our ideas are not finite. Before we do that, we'll talk about our creative week. So, Joy, what did you do this week?
Okay, so this week I actually worked on a short story, which is always a lot of fun. You guys know I love my short fiction, and this is all part of the world building that I'm still doing for my fantasy series. So it's so much fun. Every time I get to dive in, it's like I'm taking these little dips, just dipping my toes into this world and all of these realms, and I love it. I love it so much, and it just makes me want to dive in, but I know I'm not quite there yet. But it's so much fun because every time I go in, I learn something new about the world. I learn something new about my characters. I'm getting to know them. It's kind of like you know how when you first meet somebody and you go to places and you kind of hang out in these kind of safe spots for a few times until you really get to know them, and then, you know, you're able to open yourself up a little bit more. So that's kind of how I feel I am with my characters right now. So what about you?
I wrote a haiku this week about stray goats.
I love it.
Particularly ones that show up on your air conditioner in your backyard.
Oh my goodness. Y'all, this was so funny.
Yeah. Y'all, I just don't even know. It is life, I know, but still. And my husband and I, we want goats. We want to buy goats eventually, like smaller goats that will help with, eating vegetation and things that I can love on and pet and, that sort of thing. But so husband looks out the window, the back window while we're eating dinner, and it's our picnic night. So we eat pizza in the living room on a picnic blanket.
Oh, fun. I love that.
Night. And so he looks out the window and he says, "May, your dream has come true." And there are two goats standing on top of our enclosure for the air conditioner unit. And it's like there's this metal roof over it, and they are standing on top of it. It's got to be 15 feet from the ground. Like it's rather high, and my house is on a hill, so you have like this hill, and then there is the 15 feet up, and then there's the roof, and level with the roof is my wraparound porch. And so we stood on the wraparound porch trying to coax these goats off of the roof with pizza, and they just ate all the pizza and stayed on the roof. So anyway,
smart goats.
Something had to be made out of this story. So I started with a haiku, and there might be more to come, but good gracious, they're still in my backyard pooping on everything. So
well, goats are good for that.
We're trying to find the owners, but man, nobody wants them.
Oh, poor babies.
I know it, and I've actually named them Flicker and Junebug, and this is a problem, guys, because
that's too cute.
Isn't that adorable?
Yes. I see a kid's book coming.
The longer they're here, the longer I want to keep them. So
aww.
I'm trying not to touch them, and because once I pet them, it's over.
It's over. That's all she wrote.
Yeah, and now is not the time for us because we haven't built a goat home or anything like that. We're keeping them fed and watered, and we're keeping them like in a fenced-in area and that sort of thing. But goodness gracious, we weren't quite expecting to have this problem. And speaking of kidlit books, I actually had an idea for a kidlit book that I'm quite in love with, and I had that this week. And so what happened was when I had this idea, I wrote it down because I knew that I couldn't get to it yet, and I have to find an illustrator and all kinds of stuff too. There's a lot of work that would go into creating this book. But I took a moment and I just opened up a Word doc and I typed in my thoughts, and it came to me in scenes like a movie. And so I could see the pages like as I flipped them and that sort of thing. So I just wrote what I saw, and hopefully it will translate in the future when I get to focus on this project, because I'm super excited about it too. And that brings us to our topic.
Perfect segue.
So, yeah, the deal is with this is that there was a lot of fear for me when I first started about like my only having one or two good ideas, and that's it out. That's all I'll have ever in life. And I just, it really impaired me whenever I was trying to get into writing creatively. And just this fear that everything would dry up, that this well would just be empty at some point and it would never be able to be filled again, that I would never experience the wonder and the joy that came along with creating again, because I would only have these one or two brilliant ideas, right? Assuming that they were brilliant. So a couple of things happened. The first thing that happened was that I researched incessantly, because I thought that if I only had one idea, that I really wanted it to be executed well, right? But I didn't write. And I think that this is because, I know, I'm so in my way. I'm in my own way all the time.
You are.
So,
Yep.
in retrospect, I see that. But at the time, it seemed like a really good plan to just research. So, but I think that I didn't write because my logic was kind of unconsciously telling me to elongate this one-time joyful experience and to make the project as good as it can be, since it's probably going to be my last. So
this is all you get. So
yeah. I just want to tell you guys that line of thought, everything that I just said to myself at that point in time, they were lies from the pit of a rotten peach. Okay. When I finally got to writing, I found myself like brushing off ideas left and right, because they didn't seem at the time to pertain to the project that I was working on. And I just would lose momentum on the project that I was working on, because I had all of these ideas that were trying to get stored in my brain. Like, don't forget this. It's going to be something good later, one day maybe. And so I couldn't actually focus on the project that I was working on because I was trying not to forget this other stuff, right? And so I didn't know this right away, but it did become clear toward the end of Act 2, which I know I'm slow. So the moral of the story is that the more you create, the more you can create, and creation spurs more creation. So that was my experience with the whole ideas situation. And Joy, do you have a story about that?
Yeah, I mean, mine was very similar. I did worry that, I wouldn't have, like, how in the world could I be a career author and, come up with all of these brand new stories over and over and over. And now I cry because I know that there's no possible way I can write all of the ideas that I already have in my lifetime.
You don't cry, you gargle, you.
I know, that's true. I don't cry.
You lament.
I lament. I lament and I brood. I do brood.
It's a very gargoyle thing to do.
I really do brood. Oh, yeah, I do. That's why I'm getting lines. All right. So how can we cultivate ideas? Okay, if this is something that you're concerned about, we've got a few thoughts and a few ideas about ways to kind of spur those ideas on. So the first thing that we thought about is writing prompts and picture prompts, and specifically Pinterest. And a couple of things on this. Another thing actually that I would add to this is journaling. Okay, so all of these things I feel like kind of go together. Okay, so for me, journaling was a huge thing, and for a lot of my journals, I would use writing prompts. You can find writing prompts all over. I mean, just type in to Google, writing prompts, and you will come up with a ton of stuff. If you want to do something a little bit more active and a little bit, maybe gives you a little bit of accountability, I guess you could say. There's a great website. It's blogbattlers.wordpress.com, I think. I'll look that up and we'll be sure to put the correct link in the show notes. But Blog Battle, and these are just a bunch of great writers, bloggers who, there's a prompt every month. You get it the first Tuesday of the month, and it'll be one word, and it's got to go in your story somewhere. And it's just short fiction, like 1,000 words or less. So like super short. And you can get some really incredible ideas. In fact, quite a few of the blog battlers are building worlds with these little snippets of short fiction. Or they're coming up with ideas for books, or, whatever the case may be. And then on Pinterest or wherever, pictures can really, really inspire you. One of my short stories was inspired by two things: a picture that I saw on Pinterest and a classical music selection that I happened to be listening to at the same time. And it just kind of, boom, came together and to this incredible story that just washed over me.
I love all of those suggestions. And if you were like me and you finally did start writing and all of these ideas started hitting you in the forehead, I suggest having a notebook or a computer file where you place all of your new ideas. You don't want those ideas to steal your current project's thunder, but you don't want your current project to get stuck because you're trying to remember all of these other things that are happening. Some of them are going to be good, some of them are going to be bad, and some of them are going to seem very off topic. But when you get stuck in your current project, if you will take a look at that list, there could be some of those ideas that actually were meant for your book, and your right brain just couldn't tell you at the moment, right?
Absolutely.
So, and another thing that you can do, and I can't remember where I heard this. I did not come up with this idea, but I truly do love it. It was, if you have a shiny new idea, and that's kind of a coined phrase in the writer world, if you have a shiny new idea, and it seems more appealing than your current project, then try to distill down what it is about that shiny new idea that you're loving and try to put that into your project, your current project. Yeah, I like that idea too, right?
Yeah, good.
So there's that one. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then the next thing we thought about is, sometimes reading short stories that are maybe in a different genre from what you are used to, or rereading a book that you really love with the intent to let your right brain kind of play and brainstorm and think through and that kind of thing. Those are some things that you can do. And then another thing is research. And now this can be good or bad, but you've got to figure out a way to harness it for the good. Okay, so pretty much anytime you're researching for something, you are most likely going to find some other ideas. Okay, so the trick with this is to grab onto those really great ideas that you find along the way and allow yourself to write them down. Now, this is the trick. You got to write it down with some specifics, or you're going to come back to that and you're going to be like, I have no clue what this was even supposed to be. Something about, cyclones and mermaids. What was that even supposed to be? I don't know. I totally just made those two things up. Whatever it is, be as specific as you can. So, for example, if I'm researching, I'm going to find something, I'm going to pull up a new Word document, I'm going to copy and paste the article or the whatever it is that I'm reading with a few little notes about what it is that's going to help me remember. And then I'm going to save it, I'm going to lock it away, and I'm going to go back to what I'm doing. Do not let it take very long, because you don't, like May said, you don't want it to pull you away from your current work in progress. So there's a fine balance.
And if you don't have a current work in progress, and if you are wondering what in the world you're going to create, I have a little bit of practical advice for that too. So explore themes that interest you. You may think of something that you're going through at the time to kind of explore and flesh out, or you may have themes that you have already explored but you're not quite through with, like maybe you haven't gone as deep as you would like to go. Reuse that theme. Go ahead. It's okay. You can do that, because whatever you create from that is going to be different than what you created before. Absolutely. And you may think that you don't have a theme interest at all. And if that's you, then I have a little exercise for you, okay? So if you don't think that you have a theme interest at all, let me assure you that you do, okay? So first of all, you're wrong. I'm going to brush away all of our listeners today. You do have interest. I promise you. So what I'm going to ask you is, what do you talk about that gets you passionate? What do you talk about that makes you extremely happy or riled up or sad or frustrated, elated? These very strong emotions. That's what we want to tap into, okay? Weak emotions need not apply, okay? So is it politics? Is it religion? A charity? A breed of dog? A type of pasta? Whatever it is, okay?
I feel very strongly about bucatini.
Some people do, and it's okay. So whatever that thing is, try to distill that topic down into one barrel. So for example, some one barrel ideas would be injustice or inequality, humane behavior, instant gratification, how one thing can transform into a new thing by adding sauce to it. And if you take the sauce away, it's still the original thing. So however you say that in one word. So, I'm trying to do something with the pasta. Is that like self-confidence or independence? Anyway, you get my point, right? So then if there are any that are kind of negative, then you want to flip that into a positive platform. So injustice would be justice. Inequality would be equality, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So then you want to add a recipient to that platform. And you have a theme when you do that. So you can say justice for victims, or equality for women, or humane behavior toward animals, communities taking care of each other. And I was thinking about the charity one for that one. Or an appreciation for who you are with or without the sauce. So there's some pasta. Look, I made a theme out of pasta. Can you believe that happened?
Well, I like pasta, so yes.
I don't even know where that came from. So then what you want to do is give that theme parameters by asking your right brain questions about that. When I say right brain, that's just your creative part of yourself. Some people call it their muse, or they're just their creativity, or their right brain. I like right brain because I just do. I respond to that. So give your idea some parameters by asking your right brain some questions. So for example, we'll take justice for victims. And some questions that could go along with that would be, what have the victims suffered from? How does justice for those victims, what would it look like? What needs to happen for the victims to restore their strength and beliefs in themselves? What is currently stopping the victims from receiving justice? Who is the victim? Who is the assailant? Is it a person? Is it a group of people? Is it a specific private organization? Is it a government? Why was the victim chosen by the assailant? Was it coincidental? Was it strategic? These kind of questions, and you will be asking yourself a lot of questions. In fact, you should ask yourself a lot of questions, because that's going to help you narrow down your theme into a relatable person in a situation demonstrating the theme you want to spotlight, no matter the medium. Because once you get this vision in your mind, you can either write it or you paint it and sculpt it, however you want to, whatever medium you want to use in order to represent this theme. So that's what I have for you.
That's great. I love that you shared that. That's super helpful. And it is, like, questions are so important. Questions are a creator's best friend. They really are.
Yeah, and I think that you'll be able to see that too. No way, Joy.
Look at that. It was bound to happen one day.
We hit the QWERTY challenge right on time.
I'm
What
so
I'm
proud
not
of
telling
us.
you, what I'm not telling you is that
You
I added
added
a step.
time.
I did.
You did.
Okay,
Okay.
so your QWERTY challenge for this week is to be brave. Whoa, I know, that's a new one. If you don't already have one, we encourage you to get an ideas journal, like a shiny new ideas journal. And
Like this
Joy,
one.
oh, it even says shiny new ideas. I forgot.
It does right here.
So that is exactly what Joy is showing all of our YouTubers, is a notebook that has a lot of gold and sparkles on it, and it says shiny new ideas. And she actually, y'all, she got me one too. So I have the same notebook. And I love it. Look, I've already filled up like half of it.
Look
So
at
you can
you.
kind of see what's going on there.
And on the
So,
back, it says, shiny new ideas. Tomorrow I will chase another one.
oh.
So there you go.
But we're going to finish our first one
Yes,
first.
you are.
And then we're going to chase another one
Yes.
because we believe in finishing. So then, if you don't want to do something tangible, if you're not like a pen and paper person, that is so fine. Just create yourself a document, either on your phone or your computer or however you can get access to it readily. That's the important part, is that you need to be able to access it quickly, because sometimes you're in the grocery store and you got an idea and you need to put it someplace. And then we encourage you to use it. So the purpose of this is that whenever you're feeling like your ideas are finite and that you have nothing else good inside of you creatively, you refer back to this notebook and you restore your confidence in yourselves, right? Woohoo!
There you go.
And if you don't have anything written in your book, whenever you go back to it, then it's a sign for you to take a moment to play. So every time you think, what if, write it down. What if this tree in my front yard could talk? That would be a cool idea, right? Or what if the man in front of you, checking out his groceries, only had 1 month to live? Would he still be buying that kale? Not me. What what works just as well? So you can take the if off too. So what works just as well? Someone cuts you off in traffic. What is his problem? Give him a problem. Write it down in your notebook.
Take that road rage and divert it into something productive.
I have one more idea for you in order to get ideas. And so if your notebook is empty, this is one of my favorite things. You can take a cliche or some sort of trope, okay? So like suburban dad. If you don't know what that is a dad who lives in a suburb and has kids and a wife and probably wears Sperry's and mom pants. Like a suburban dad or like a cafeteria lady. And then you want to take that cliche or that trope and you want to spin it on its head. So a suburban dad who is secretly a superhero, or a cafeteria lady who is actually super rich and wants to be a fairy godmother to an unsuspecting person. Like, that kind of spins it on its head, right?
I like it.
You can't leave it there or it's not going to turn into a story. So you have to add conflict to that. So a suburban dad who is a superhero whose family gets kidnapped because he stupidly revealed his identity. So that's conflict into that. Or like this secretly rich cafeteria lady gives a gift to a girl, and then she has like this fancy life now, but she turns into a mean girl and torments the natives. That kind of thing.
Nobody likes a mean girl. Good conflict, though.
Yeah, throw that conflict in there, and you have the basis for a story. So prove to yourself that you can create ideas. Yep. Invalidate fear.
There you go. And then share it with us. We want to hear all about this.
So this was a really fun one for us, and we hope it was fun for you too, and we can't wait to hear your ideas that you're creating. And sometimes people don't like to share their ideas, and that's totally fine, but if you could just let us know that you came up with some, that would be really cool. Guys, have a wonderful, wonderful creative week.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening until the end.
Seriously, you're a trooper.
Do you think QWERTY Writing Life is the bomb?
May, you just said the bomb.
Don't you censor me.
If you think QWERTY Writing Life rocks ice for real,
oh my word,
please rate, review, and share us with others.
If you have questions about this week's episode or want to start a conversation, you can reach us by visiting QWERTYWritingLife.podbean.com.
We'll be back next week with more candid chats for you.